Hey everyone, it's Lucky with Unfiltered Lucky. And today I want to talk a little bit about the hearing that happened on Friday, where Ann Taylor basically laid out how old Sneaky Bill pulled a fast one on her. And also about how fast Judge pushed that through on a Friday night. An emergency motion. An emergency motion because of a survey that was conducted anonymously with public information that went out to 400 potential jurors. Now, potential jurors are probably most of the population over 18 years old. You and I are potential jurors in our counties. So to say potential juror is basically just minimizing what's actually most of the population. So basically, the prosecution doesn't want the defense talking to anybody. The prosecution has already talked to everybody that they want to talk to, and they're free to talk to anybody that they want to talk to. But if the defense talks to anybody, then they're violating the dissemination order, according to Bill Thompson. So I made a video a little while back talking about how the prosecution doesn't want to confirm even the smallest of details. But now it appears that the prosecution doesn't want anybody to be talked to either. Not only did they file an emergency motion, but they opened an investigation with law enforcement. Bring in old Brett Payne. I mean, they got the police involved for a survey of 400 people who were asked about public information. 400 people out of 41,000 in Latah County. Now, this information and this survey was so devastating to the prosecution and the case as a whole, according to Bill Thompson, that they didn't even want to talk to the expert that was sitting on standby to explain to the courts exactly what they were doing. They didn't even want to talk to the expert who conducted the survey. That's weird, right? And then Bill Thompson started to get a little dramatic there for a minute. Maybe a little acting. Maybe it was just something that I felt, or maybe it was just me. But I felt like Bill Thompson was kind of putting on quite the performance. So the jury pool is tainted now, according to Bill Thompson. He's mad. He's really mad because he feels like the defense went behind his back to actually do their job, which is kind of strange. He basically says that this emergency motion was absolutely necessary because according to Bill Thompson, this needs to stop right now. This is disastrous, and Bill's mad. He's so mad that he doesn't even want to talk to the expert that conducted the survey so that he can maybe get a better understanding of what exactly this person was doing. But he doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about this expert or what was going on or what was happening. Because honestly, he probably doesn't even care about that survey. I think what Bill's really mad about is that nobody checked with him first. Bill Thompson lectures everyone, including Judge. So Bill Thompson has been able to do pretty much whatever he wants to do. Because as we saw in this last hearing, Ann Taylor cannot question the prosecution's actions without getting the lecture. Bill has gotten pretty comfortable just doing whatever he wants. And he made it very clear that he doesn't like anybody else in this courtroom doing anything that might question what he's doing. So Bill can never be put in check by the defense because if Ann Taylor questions any of Bill's actions, then she has to get the lecture. And then Bill explains about why he's right and why everyone else in this courtroom is wrong. He seems very comfortable throwing a temper tantrum when someone questions his actions. Kind of like the response of someone who just got caught doing someone dirty. Here's a question. Do you think that Bill Thompson would be basically telling the defense that they need his permission before they conduct their work if there was a high-powered attorney on the other side who he didn't know personally? Ann Taylor did stand her ground. She put it out there and she called out Bill Thompson, which I was happy to see because he had that coming. But she still looked very frustrated. Ann Taylor looked like she wanted to call BS out loud. And she looked like she wanted to say a few other things. But her face was a look of frustration. Now, I do believe that Ann Taylor is going to bat for Bryan Kohberger. And she's probably a really good attorney. But her, Bill, and Judge are all University of Idaho alumni. They all know each other, in my opinion. She's a public defender. Bill is a prosecutor. And Judge works in district court. They know each other. Now, I was glad that she put it out there. And I was glad that she called out the prosecution. But it almost just seems like this would really move along a lot faster if they just did what they really want to do. And that's hold these hearings in private. Now, we know that's not a good thing. And, you know, it's just weird to see them standing there dancing around their words because they don't want to, you know, give away any details. So what I don't understand is how are they supposed to get to the truth if they can't even talk about what they need to talk about in these hearings? Nobody wants to say anything because they don't want to give up any information. You know, they don't want to say anything in front of the cameras. So it's strange to watch them kind of dance around their words so they don't accidentally let any details out. But if you can't talk about the details, how are they supposed to do this? How are they supposed to find the truth? Either way, whether Bryan Kohberger is guilty or not, how are these people supposed to get to the truth in these hearings if they can't even talk about the details because of the cameras? The prosecution does not want to give up their game plan, but they want to approve Ann Taylor's game plan. Yeah, that sounds legit. Bill Thompson appears to be the individual who is in control in this courtroom. Now, Ann Taylor, I'm sure that she's a very good attorney. And this really isn't about how good of an attorney that Ann Taylor is. The problem is that she still has a connection. She has a connection to the prosecution as well as the judge. I just don't feel like the prosecution would be doing things this way if there was a powerful attorney on the other side that was not going to play games. Someone who was very serious and was not going to play Bill's games. They just weren't going to put up with it. I believe that the association between these people has a lot to do with it. I think this would be a different situation if there was a high-powered attorney on the other side that Bill didn't think that he could just walk all over. I mean, watching this hearing was like an emotional roller coaster. It was like, we're mad, but no offense, it probably wasn't your fault. You did us dirty, but you probably didn't mean to, and we get it. You know, it just didn't make sense. Bill Thompson went from like angry to passive aggressive to laughing to dramatic and back to peaceful like 3 times in this one hearing. Ann Taylor just looked frustrated the entire time. It's like she knows that she's not going to be free to prepare her own case. The prosecution is going to challenge every single thing that she does. And I realize that Ann Taylor is getting paid well. But it's got to be frustrating to feel like you're getting shut down with everything that you're trying to do in order to defend your client. Now, Ann Taylor did not want to give up her strategy, but she was pushed to do so by the judge. And of course, old Bill Thompson was right there just taking notes. What do you think? Do you think that things would be different if Brian Kohberger had an attorney who was not associated to the prosecution or the judge? If Brian Kohberger had representation that didn't know anybody in this courtroom, the same as him. This hearing was very telling. It makes me wonder what Brian Kohberger is thinking as he sits there and watches this mess. I've said from the very beginning that Brian Kohberger is going to have a very hard time getting a fair trial in this tight-knit community. There's a lot more here, in my opinion, than just Brian Kohberger. And I've always said, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I feel like maybe we just saw some of the smoke. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And if you liked my video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. I really do appreciate it. Stay tuned for my next video and we'll see you next time.